Live from the Clarity from Chaos studios, heard worldwide, it's Dave Campbell. On every episode, Dave and his guests explore, discuss, and work on solutions to some of life's biggest challenges. So, if you're ready, be prepared to be enlightened, amused, and even shocked by what you hear. And now, the real, the authentic, the one and only Dave Campbell.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Clarity from Chaos. I'm your host, Dave Campbell. In this episode, we're going to be examining the importance of developing a better educational system for our children. In addition, healthcare reform and the lack of moral clarity in our society. We have a very inspiring guest tonight, but first I want to talk about the need for us to, as a country, to become a lot more spiritual. As you have heard me state, the problems we currently face in this country are not technological, they're not economic, they're not environmental, and believe it or not, they're not political. We have lost our moral compass because to a large extent, we no longer are tethered to the Almighty. We have allowed evil to come into the forefront of our country. It's on display everywhere you look. Modern propaganda has everyone convinced that they are the center of the universe, and what they want or don't want is what's important. Everything revolves around the individual. Basic right and wrong does not enter the discussion. If it doesn't fit the individual's paradigm, so that the brainwashing that has been going on for the last 50 years has now affected several generations. And it is my belief that we are at the point that an intervention is needed. That intervention is represented by first recognizing the ongoing effort to destroy Christianity in this country. Second, to reacquaint yourself with the church and the Bible. We need to come together and have faith in God and his ability to combat this evil. And the third intervention point is the use of prayer. Belief is what is needed. Discard your negative thoughts and develop positive ones. As we strengthen our spiritual foundation, we must also address the practical challenges facing our communities. In this case, one being educational reform. Our values of compassion and care should guide us on how we approach these issues. To help us navigate these complex topics, we are joined by someone with deep expertise in the field. Dr. Nelva Lee. Dr. Lee is an author, entrepreneur, and conservative candidate for Georgia's superintendent of schools. Her expertise spans over 20 years of healthcare and 10 years in academia as an adjunct professor. Welcome to the show, Dr. Lee.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Can you take a moment and give the audience a little bit of your background so they kind of know where you're coming from?
For sure. So I am a mother, first of all, of three beautiful children, a wife of 25 years. My husband and I have been married for 25 years, and I'm an author. I've written several Christian-based books, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I was the CEO and founder of a vocational school, and I ran that for 20 years. I was appointed by Governor Kemp to be on the Department of Community Health. Ran for office in the past as for state senator, but I'm currently running for superintendent of schools, as you mentioned.
Well, don't hold it against me that I don't think the politics of the situation are what's needed right now, because I'm firmly convinced it is well beyond Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, or anything else. It is good versus evil as far as I'm concerned at this point.
I believe you're right. And one of the reasons I'm running is because I believe that we need to have people of integrity, character, and belief back in the public sphere. Because if those of us that have values stay out of it, then all we're gonna see is just a continued demise in our public.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. The bar that they should have to get over needs to be raised a lot higher. Their character and their integrity needs to be on display for everybody to see. And, obviously you can't turn on the news, and I don't care what news you watch, you can't turn it on without just sitting there shaking your head that, the world has gone upside down.
And one of the things that we need is true election reform. And I am a strong proponent of term limits. I believe that a lot of public servants come into the job with good intentions, but then if they stay there too long, they're corrupted by the lobbying firms and just the fact that they're constantly in fundraiser mode. So if we cap all public servants to 2 terms from the federal government all the way on down to state and local, we will see changes. I believe you'll have a revolving door of people with good intentions going in, and I think you'll have a lot less corruption.
Yeah, I would completely agree. So let's shift gears just a teeny bit and talk about educational reform, because I heard a story the other day and you'll enjoy this. It was a family had raised their kids in a very Christian household, all the way up to the point of sending their first one off to college. And a year back, coming back from college, the oldest one had completely shed all of that Christian upbringing and had now been indoctrinated into what we are seeing in today's universities.
Unfortunately,
And
that happens
their
often.
parents, their parents are just sitting there wringing their hands, trying to figure out how to deprogram this child of theirs. And unfortunately, the school that they sent her to was a Christian school. So you have to be very, very careful about who says that they're a Christian school and that their platforms are X, Y, and Z, as opposed to what really goes on.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they've gone down the road of very woke kind of culture, and the whole idea of a Christian background or a biblical view of the world is completely dismissed, right, based on their own ideology. So anyway, I thought it was discouraging for the parents, and what they're doing now is basically developing a 50 on how to maintain your Christianity while you're in college, right? Because it's becoming, you send the kids away to school and expect them to become, educated, with higher math, this and that, and all they're doing is being indoctrinated, and unfortunately, a lot of that indoctrination is anti-Christian.
Exactly. It's very disheartening. I have several friends that have had that exact experience with their children.
Right. It's I fortunately my kids were raised where the technology wasn't quite as pervasive it is now. Cell phones were a rarity. I mean, I still have the old brick phone that came out by Motorola,
Right.
and it looks like a handheld walkie-talkie from the Korean War.
I had one of those as well.
As a matter of fact, I've got it up on my bookcase as a reminder of what things used to look like.
Right.
Anyway, fortunately, as a parent, I didn't have to fight the global social media that parents have to fight now, and I do not envy them. But let's talk about the Votex stuff and everything that you're proposing, because I think it's absolutely one of the most important things out there. And particularly if you look at our current president and his push to build things here, there is a total lack of people that work with their hands and in our country. And to build things, you're going to need the Votech training.
And it's AI proof, right?
Yeah. And I know welders, have worked with welders that were making significant six-figure incomes.
Correct.
And those weren't even the people that were out in the Gulf working on the oil rigs. This was just individuals working, domestically, right, on shore. Yeah. So it's amazing to me because I know lawyers that don't make six figures,
and yet they have tons of school debt.
Yes. Yeah, and they've got probably 3 times what they make in school debt because everybody's convinced them that's the thing to do.
Yes, unfortunately. My true belief is that everyone can benefit from a vocational certification in high school. So
I do too.
We have these youngsters, especially from sophomore through their senior year, that the majority of them are already just about finished with all the credits that they need in order to graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a sense that they're just passing time while they waiting to graduate. We
Right.
have such a captive audience and resource heavy, right? In
Hmm.
most states, it's definitely in the state of Georgia, over 50% of our state budget goes to education. And for us to put out children that are not workforce ready is the service, okay, at
Yeah.
the very least. Immoral, really, is what I rather
Right.
want to call it. But at the very least, it's wasting these youngsters' time. It's wasting our resources because we are
Hmm.
all taxpayers putting money into this, and it's really not preparing us or them
No.
for the future. What I like to see is everybody. And I don't want to pigeonhole who needs to get a trade school certificate versus who doesn't. Every high school graduate to obtain a trade school certification. If you are college bound, guess what? It will actually help you. While you're going to college, you can work on the side in an industry that's geared towards whatever it is that you want to get your degree in. So, say you want to be a lawyer, you can get a paralegal certification. Say you want to be a doctor or a nurse, you can get a myriad of healthcare certifications,
Right.
phlebotomy, for instance, type of certifications. But you mentioned welders and electricians and plumbers. We need all of these trades because as the baby boomers are retiring, we're going to have a dearth, right? A need for those trades to be
Yep.
replaced. And here's the thing. So if you're college bound, it's going to be a boom for you, right? It's sort of like a built-in internship. But if you're not college bound, it is a game changer. It allows you to get a career, as you mentioned, a six-figure income in most cases
Yeah.
without the debt. So
Oh, yeah.
most of our high schoolers are facing either getting a second mortgage with their college debt or facing just having a job. And
Or their
that
parents, or their parents,
or their
you know,
parents taking on debt.
taking on all of that debt to put their kid through some kind of named school so they have a basket weaving degree.
Right.
And here's somebody with a vo-tech, electrician, and there's apprenticeships.
Exactly.
All of the trades, that they've beat down and talked about and given an ugly name to, the first person that you call as a homeowner, if you don't know how to do something, say an electrical problem, who do you call? You
You
don't
call
call
an
somebody from that
electrician.
with a degree in basket weaving. You
Yeah,
call an electrician, right? And
correct.
we're woefully short on electricians. We're woefully short on cabinet
Plumbers.
makers,
Yeah,
carpenters, plumbers, roofers. I mean, all of the trades, all of
correct.
the trade, mechanic, car mechanics.
Even in the tech schools, I mean,
Yeah, oh,
right now we're sending most of our coding jobs overseas because we don't have enough
right,
coders, and
right.
that's most of those you can get a certificate for. So we need to, and here's in the state of Georgia, we are already funding dual enrollment. So this is a
Okay.
budget neutral solution. So we're simply asking for those funds to be diverted to tech schools so that our high schoolers can get a trade certificate before completing high school.
Yeah, well, I liked it. And I don't know if Georgia has school choice or not, Dr.
We
Lee.
just passed the Promise Scholarship Act, which
Okay.
is kind of dipping our toe into school choice. It allows
Okay.
6,500 for those families whose children attend a school that's in the bottom 25 percentile of the state, and they
Right.
can only use it towards a private school. So it's a step in the right direction. It's not going far enough, in my opinion. I believe that we need to expand it, something closer to what Florida does, which is $8,000 to any family, and they can use it in any learning environment, be that a charter school, private school,
Oh,
or even
okay.
homeschool. And so I believe that we
Yeah.
just need to expand what we're currently doing here in the state of Georgia for school choice.
Well, it's interesting you brought up homeschooling because I know several people that homeschool their kids, and the children that want to go on and further their education, they are literally being sought after
Hmm.
by universities now. Everybody thinks that homeschooling, the child gets a diminished socialization kind of environment and everything else, or the parents can't see doing homeschool because they use school as a babysitter because both parents work. But there's a lot of different scenarios that people are using to homeschool. I know a couple of them that like live on a cul-de-sac, for example,
Okay.
and they rotate, right? They
Yeah.
rotate the homeschooling. And my goodness, the amount of criteria and curriculum
Hmm.
that is on the internet that's available to homeschool
Right.
is astounding.
I homeschooled my oldest through the fifth grade,
Yeah.
and it was, we had co-ops that we went to
Uh-huh.
for both music and other types of curriculum for, to enhance his science and his math. And he's doing amazing now. And I think going back to your original concern about children and going off to college, I believe that when you do homeschool your children, you have a lot more influence on them and you're able to better train them up with your values than when you
Yeah.
do send them off to school. So
Yeah.
I'm in awe of all those who homeschool their children all the way through. And I definitely want to support them.
And what I'd like to see is the churches
Hmm.
actually expand even further into the whole homeschooling environment.
Yes.
And that way, the whole concept of Christianity can be baselined into the education.
I
And
love that.
and you don't worry about some knuckleheaded school board member deciding that, your daughter has to share a bathroom with the boys and all that other stuff. The
Right.
values are there. Of course,
And
you're
parents
taking,
are engaged because they're
yeah,
part of the
exactly.
curriculum, building the curriculum. They're part of
Exactly.
teaching in most cases.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just love to see the churches. Now, they all don't have to do it, but I'd like to see churches, instead of maybe worrying more about becoming a mega church, if you will,
Hmm.
start being more concerned about, maybe developing this whole homeschooling program for the parishioners that they could utilize and homeschool their kids.
I love that because most churches are underutilized from Monday
Exactly.
through Friday. So why
Exactly.
not? Yes, I
Yeah,
love.
exactly. Why not utilize this space?
Hmm.
And then you have, to your point, you have control to a certain extent. You have control over the environment that your children are in,
Right.
and they're not being subjected to a lot of this foolishness that we hear every night on TV, right?
Yes, for sure.
So, it's just a thought.
I'm with you though there, Dave, because I truly believe that our churches can do a lot more. Even if they don't want to do homeschooling, they can definitely do some after school,
Yeah,
availabilities for tutoring and just, safe spaces for a lot of youngsters.
yeah. Mentoring programs.
Correct.
There's a lot of expertise in different fields, electrical fields, building management fields, strategic, decision making. There's just a multitude of different topics that you could get and mentor, not just Christianity, but true mentoring. And a lot of the children, particularly that come from a single family or single parent home,
Correct.
that would even be better because,
Exactly.
then they would have,
A safe place to go.
yeah, and a male and or whatever
Email.
in their lives that, hmm, maybe I do have something here. Maybe I do.
We'll put our heads together and
Yeah,
solve
yeah,
this
yeah.
crisis.
So you're a board member on the community health,
I was appointed, yes, by
by
Governor Kemp
Kemp.
to the
Yeah, by
Department of
Governor
Community Health.
Kemp. So what's your thoughts on the current health care in the state of Georgia?
Well, even nationwide, I believe that we have a crisis, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I've been in healthcare for over 30 years. I have my degrees, my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate are all in healthcare administration. And for 30 years, we've been talking about how we're spending the most in the US and getting the least
yeah. It's just
results.
like education, Dr. Lee. Just like, price per student
We're
is the
not getting a
highest
good
in, yeah,
ROI. No,
yeah,
no,
yeah. And the same with healthcare.
correct.
Um,
I call it sick care, what happens in the US, really. We're
yeah,
not taking care of the basics. When it comes to
no,
preventative care, we're constantly fighting with insurance companies just to get the basics done. Everyone from our doctors to patients are dissatisfied, to say the least, with the state of our healthcare. And one of the things that we can do, we need to make sure that, as I mentioned earlier, Term limits would keep the lobbyists at bay. There's so much healthcare lobbying that takes place. It's one of the number one lobbies in Washington. So it's
Right.
between healthcare and finance. One of the two. They're constantly battling for
Right.
first and second place as far as money spent and time taken up by our legislators, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
look at it right now, right? Well, the ACA enrollment just ended on the 15th, but you had a group of politicians that put all of this stuff together several years ago, and I never saw them consult doctors from the Mayo Clinic, doctors from Emory, doctors from Piedmont, doctors from Mount Sinai, and put a collective group of brains like Dr. Carson together in a room to do this. You had a bunch of yahoos that have been in Congress for God knows how long come up with this stuff. And as it turns out, all it is subsidy kickbacks to the damn insurance companies.
Insurance companies, that is correct.
That's all the hell it is.
Between the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies, they're basically ruining our healthcare.
Right. And it was done to patronize people that couldn't afford healthcare to get a vote. It wasn't to fix the system. It was to basically, it was a giveaway to people. And now, over the last several years, we've had an influx of 10 to 20 million people that didn't even pay into the system, that have produced a burden on the system that it's just pulled it down for everybody.
Correct.
They go into the emergency room. It's just,
there wasn't true reform done. That's for
yeah.
sure. Yes.
Yeah.
So
And it needs, we need to lock them in a room, Dr. Lee, and not let them out of the room until they come up with something that works across the board, right?
Whatever we do, we need to lock the insurance companies and the pharmaceuticals out until we come up with
absolutely
a comprehensive solution for the American people. Because
well,
we are at the end of the day financing all of this. It's our tax
right.
dollars, and we're
right.
not getting the benefit of it.
And I mean, from a Medicaid standpoint, all you have to do is look to Minnesota to see where your money's going. They're doing the same thing in New York. They've been doing the same thing in Ohio. I'm just waiting for somebody to say it's being done in Atlanta, right? And which wouldn't surprise me, would not surprise me a bit, because up until this last go round on the ACA, they weren't even requiring a Social Security number to enroll and get the insurance, which means anybody, anywhere can sign up. So, and that's just insane. And I'm not trying to be unsympathetic to people that need medical attention, but it's gotta on balance for society, right? For the people in this country. And then, I mean, it'd be no different than I'm going to take care of your family before I take care of my family. Right. That's not to say I'm not going to help your family, but my family's going to come first. And,
it just we need to reform.
Yeah.
It needs reform, and it needs to be done with results, positive results, health results in mind, and not just financial, but it needs to be positive health results. If we focus on positive health results, we will see a resurgence in an emphasis for preventative care medicine, for starters. We're one of the only countries where pharmaceuticals are allowed to advertise on the TV, right?
Yeah.
And that only leads to negative health outcomes. And so there's a lot of things that we need to do to reform our healthcare.
Yeah, and I think RFK Jr. is taking the right steps.
Definitely.
I mean, the food companies, we talk about the pharmaceuticals, but Big Agra has got their foot in this thing as well, because of all the additives all the additives. And they won't even take certain foods from us in Europe because of the additives that we put in our food.
All the hormones, all the preservatives.
Right.
Yes. They have caused the obesity problem, really. I mean, if you look at other nations, it's not that we eat more, it's that we're just eating unhealthy. The foods that we're having are just they don't have the nutrients that they need to have, or they have too many extra things, whether it's additives or hormones.
Yeah. And I'm kind of on the fence about about Tylenol and it's to just for
Kidney problems? Okay.
right?
Well, I know that I just had a friend of mine have an overdose of Tylenol
Yeah.
just
Now,
recently.
yeah.
So it's not as safe as we think it is.
No. And all you have to do is take a step back a couple of years and look at COVID and understand that if you've been following the unraveling of the whole COVID issue, it wasn't very good for you either. And in some cases, probably was worse for you than the actual getting COVID was getting the shots, right? So because it caused, and I think will continue to cause, I don't think all of the results you're in is going to take time for that, for that stuff to move forward. But my goodness, if you could get your hands around big agri and big pharma and do something with the insurance companies, which I think Trump's trying to do.
Yes, that would solve that would solve over 50% of the issue.
It would solve a lot of it. It certainly would. It absolutely would. So for those people that are listening to us, where can they find your information?
So my website is drnelvalee.com, drnelvalee.com. And I have my books there and my speeches, links to my social media, all of that.
Yeah. So your book, Stay and Fight and Be the Superhero of Your Story,
correct,
is on your website. Well, Dr. Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
It's been enlightening, and I hope the audience has gotten as much out of it as I have, and I'm sure they have.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So in closing, if you like what we're doing here on Clarity, go out to the website on Substack and hit the subscribe button. The address is clarityfromchaos.substack.com. So thank you for listening to Clarity from Chaos. And until the next time, remember to look up for guidance. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Lee.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to listen to more Clarity from Chaos shows on demand, go to clarityfromchaos.buzzsprout.com or send Dave an email at info@clarityfromchaos.com for information on previous shows. You can also listen to the show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Twitter, or Google Podcast. Until next time, please remember, it's not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Be well, everyone.